Hello, hello. Back to working on the two Garrison caps. I'm sure someone will have something to say about this piece and the shape of it, but this is the top of the Garrison cap. And last night I went ahead and put this part together. I glued it so when I go to put the other piece on, it's not as hard for me to work with. So I glued the piping down so that I could lay the other piece down. And then when I sew it, it's going to roll back to there. So I'm going to go ahead and get that other piece, the other piece, which is the hat itself. Have to make sure that I put this in right. So I put this in this way. So when I and I do lots and lots of clips to keep things in place. And I'm just using that water-based glue, so it's not the strongest hold. I mean, it'll hold it for what I need it to hold it for. I think I'm going to flip this. No, I can't sew it like that. There we go. I might have to wing it at the machine. I don't know that I can get this to stay clipped. Let me see. Yeah, see, it's already starting to come apart at the middle. Put this clip on that side of the fold. So the fold is on this side. Find my center point here. Do the same thing. And put these on there. I should not clip my finger while I'm in the process of doing this. That doesn't feel good. So it was there. I'm not going to be able to clip this as much as I had the other parts of it clipped. And I'm going to sew it from this side because I can feel where that half-inch mark is and where the piping is, and I can see where I had it clipped prior. Which gives me an idea of where that piping is. That just doesn't sit right. It's still not sitting right. And I am trying to get a precision on that. Let's see if I can mark that center point. See if I can get my pen to mark it. And this is the one that turns white as it dries. And washes away. The mark does wash away. It doesn't stay. And I'm also trying to keep it inside the steam allowance. And so I'm working to line those two lines up. And clip them in. I just line them up going around. That one. And I think I'm going to sew one side at a time. Let's see if I can create a good, clean center front and center back with that. And the other one will not have piping across the top, so I can get it clipped together. And we can sew it at the same time. So I'm going to sew just this side first. Then I'll pull this side up and sew it to this side. So I'm going to set this one aside. See it in there? Forgot my clips and everything over on the sewing machine. When I redid my work surface to create a clean work surface, that's why it's blue today. I used a blue tape on it. And this one will be pretty much the same way. Find the center of this side. And mark it. Then I'll find the center of this. And mark it. Put the white sides together because that's going to be the outside. And I am looking from this side to this side to see the mark. I need to move my camera, I see. Let me adjust this camera. I'm going to turn the camera off for just a second so I can move it. Shift this camera down to the edge of the table more. And I don't want to do that while I have that on because it'd make everybody drunk, and I'll throw my banner down at the bottom. Let me see if I got that back right. Yeah, I think that puts it where you can see me better. So I'm just going to put a couple of clips on here. I'm going to do all this clipping first, and then we will go over and sew so that I'm not running back and forth as much. This is how I normally do it, is I prep all the pieces that go to the machine because, as most people know, I am not one to use the sewing machine for many projects at all. So I have those two prepped, and I actually did these last night. I cut the piping down to a 1/2 inch. I got this nice, well, I got two of them, nice nifty ruler that is a 1/2 inch wide from side to side, so that I could go in and cut my piping down to be a 1/2 inch, so that I could use it to line up these pieces. So I lined the white leather up with the blue leather, and then I will stitch it just along right here where the piping is. I'll stitch that edge all the way around, and then when I flip it, I don't know that I can flip it all the way, but it'll be right to that edge. It'll just show just like that. That piping will stick out the edge. So you'll have that piping sticking above the white, and that's what I'm looking for. So I actually did clip up this one, and yes, there are a lot of clips on here. And I clipped up the second one for the other hat. So I have the two of those sitting over here to go to the machine. Got this one sitting over here. And the two roofs, the two tops of the hat. Which means I will need to turn the camera off from here and move to over there where my sewing machine is, and get a little sewing done. Write a little note. And that way everybody knows that I am at the sewing machine, and I will answer any comments or questions from anyone that arrives in chat after I get back to this seat. But I have to shift from one seat to the other in order to work on the sewing machine. One day I will have the two workspaces sitting right next to each other. And so it will be a lot easier for me. But at this moment, I do not. Shift camera. Just need to get the camera where you can see what I'm doing. And then I can pop the camera back on for you. So this is my Sailrite leatherworking machine. I don't use the sewing machine often on projects. I do a lot of handwork. I'm checking my tape. I was pretty sure that it was still at a 1/2 inch, and that is correct. Or to put another piece of tape on this and pulling up. Don't need that catching. Push it down again. I'm going to start with the one that's a little more simple. I am going to do a test run. Where's that piece? Piece into here. Place. Tension does not release quite the way I want it to, but I have a good stitch. Let me see if I can see that. To have a good stitch, so I want to leave that there. Need to get another set of scissors to tie to this machine and leave here, so that I'm not jumping back and forth. So just from this side. I have not tried to fix this where people could watch me sew, so I don't know how much you can or cannot see. I'm trying to line that up again as close as possible to the center seam, which is the center seam is here. And so I'm trying to create an imaginary line going through to the needle. And for those who sew, you know that's how I anchor the stitch so that it doesn't come undone later. I actually do the same thing when I hand stitch. I repeat the first and last stitch. And the purpose of that is to secure those ends. And I am keeping this where this is running right up against this tape that I put here to mark the half ends. Because I don't have a fancy seam gauge to do that. Most of the time with fabric, I winged it with the seam allowances, but I don't do that with leather. With leather, you do need to be more precise in your stitching. And again, I'm going to try to line that up with seam, which comes right to here. So I'm going to try to get as close to that as possible.
Guess we start screaming. Gotcha.
And so I finished the seam of this one. And this will get flipped to the outside edge and it'll have a nice crisp seam. But first we're going to have to go back over to the table and clip the second side. So I will move this over to that side. And work on the second half. This one has more layers to work with, so it's a little more difficult to line up and get precision on. But we will do the best we can. I can feel that line that I'm going for. And I will go a little slower. Because I do want to keep that edge. I do want to keep to the edge where that piping is. That's why I keep rubbing my fingernail on it to, you might not be able to see it, but my fingernail leaves a little indent. And that tells me that this is where I want to be. And both of the caps will have this piping edge on them. And I know some people do it a little bit different than I do. And there is more than one way to do this, and it looked good. This is just my method. I am going to show this one. Let me flip it. And you can see how that piped edge is what shows. And I will work the seam to make it lay more flat. That is what we were looking for, is having just the piping sticking out and not a large amount of anything else. And so that's going to give me a really clean top. Put that one to the side. Move these clips out of the way. And move on to the next. I just have a lot more clips on this edge because I did not glue anything. It means I'm also dealing with a lot more weight. Back edge. And still touch it. And I know that a lot of that is going to disappear when I start putting it together. Part of this won't even show. Again, normally people would be using straight pins to hold their stuff, but we're working with leather here, so we do not use straight pins. And now I wish I would have glued this edge. What I can do is I can tape this edge and then pull the tape off. Absolutely can tape the edge. And that'll give me something to hold it together with. Move some of these clips out of my way. Continue on. I am picking up the tail end with my hand to try to stop it from pulling. It's the halfway point because I don't want it pulling on the seam as I'm trying to stitch it, because that gives the machine a resistance in a backwards direction. The machine does not like resistance in the opposite direction. No sewing machine does. probably could have put on my opposite zipper foot, but that's okay. So then when I flip this, then just that piped edge showing. I will be grading back this to cut back some of the bulk. I will grade this seam allowance to cut back on the bulk. So some of these layers will get cut down really short. I think I'm gonna make them different layers. And then I might put a little glue on it, but I'm going to roll these edges with my weighted roller or pound on them with a hammer, whichever works best, and make them lay smooth. But I'm going to move the rest of these clips and sew this other piece, and then I can see my chat after I move the camera. But I have this one to go. I'm going to sew this one the opposite direction. It's not the opposite direction. This is. I am going to sew it this way and see if running this against the edge works better for me. Hold all these pieces in my lap. Okay, I need to tape that edge. Let me get some tape that I threw on the floor. Get me a little piece of tape to tape that beginning edge because they are not. It is not glued down. And this way, I have an edge to work with. That's where it needs to be. And I can hold on to this part to get it started. That's how I should have done the other one. I just had a light go off and I need to see if I lost my camera. I did not lose my camera, but I did lose the light I had. Don't know why it turned my light off, but it did it again. It's not leaving my light on for some reason. If my camera goes out, I will bring it back up. So it's staying on for now. If it goes out again, I'll just finish up this piece and then address the camera. I do hear that my machine needs oil. So that will be something else I have to take care of later. Before I use it again, which I actually might do before I leave this in the spot. It has a few oiling points, and I just dropped some oil in there. And let it be seeping in while I'm doing my other stuff. I have a love-hate relationship with these clips. I love to use them and hate to deal with them when I come out of a project. They get in the way. I need to see if I can get another screen that I can mount over here. I don't have a cheap tablet or anything that I can view YouTube with to watch the chat. The only thing I have is my phone, which I'm using as a camera right now. The layers are shifting a little bit. Because of what I'm doing, that it won't affect it to a degree. It won't affect it that much. It actually won't affect the look at all. I'm gonna have to be picking up these clips from all over the place. I keep dropping them under my feet. And again, we have that piped edge, same as the one before. Let me grab that oil. And the sewing machine table. Points that say oil. Double check and make sure I put it where it goes. What I'm looking for is not here, which means it's been moved. So I'm going to turn the camera off for a second because I'm going to use the light on the camera to find out where I need to do this. Because having the machine oiled and sewing well is extremely important. At the same time, I'm going to have to sew some scraps through here so that I don't leave any residue behind on the white leather. And it is already sounding better. I think I just ran out of bobbin thread. And I will be right with you, chat. We might have to start by threading a bobbin, which is exactly what we're going to have to do. So I'm going to pull my thread while I check the oil points on this. And these are just part of having a machine that you use. These leather sewing machines wind up having oil to need to be oiled more than your domestic machines do. And I hope anyone that has come into chat is doing well today. And I will be over at my computer shortly, where I can absolutely see what's going on. I am feeling better about the machine now. It's not giving me a whine anymore like it was. So I am going to put a paper towel under it where I can catch any residual oil while I'm sitting down getting the next step made. I will have to thread my bobbin, and I will have to check a few other things before I proceed with the next steps. But this is a basic machine oil, like you use on a lot of things, on any sewing machine, just about. Just have to make sure I always put it back where it goes. Just throw it up there. I need to make sure I gotta clean my hands before I work with the leather. Moving my phone holder. Back over here where I can see what's going on. I have people. I see Jennifer and I see Terry in my chat. Don't know if there's anyone else. I started off, I was talking to myself. But I do see there's lots of messages in here. Oh, I see CPR has been here. If he isn't still here. I'm getting my phone clipped back in. Getting it back adjusted to my work area. I need to find my phone app thingy. It is. Because I like to put my phone up taller so I'm not hitting it constantly when I work. So that means I have to zoom my workspace a little bit. And it is right off the edge there. So I believe that should give me a workable camera. Yes. Okay, so I'm going to scroll up and I'm going to read comments before I do everything else. And hello, everybody in my chat. Jennifer, thank you for coming in. Yes, you get a bird's eye view when I work. Thank you, Phil, for letting us know you got home safe, but did get soaked in the rain. So you got wet to be told you have an ear infection. That's not productive. But I hope they gave you something really good to get rid of it. I know you're trying to get rid of all the bad stuff in the first quarter, it seems, so that your last 3 quarters of the year can be awesome. Hi, Terry. Good to see you. Good to hear that you're healing well, Jennifer. I'm going to put some hand sanitizer because it cuts grease on my hands to kill that grease. It's technically not a grease. It says grease the machine, but it's not grease. It's oil. It's clear oil. And then I will get a paper towel to rub that off on. These little clips. I mean, I know they make bigger ones that people use, but these are just little things. You know, right at 2 inches long, 3/8 inch wide. I mean, they're small. Still love my little rulers, little 1/2 inch wide rulers. I don't know why, even at a 12-inch ruler or even a 6-inch ruler, it looks so much tinier than an average 6-inch ruler because the width of it is half as much as it normally is. It just makes the overall ruler look smaller. So I got all the pieces that I just sewed. Move those down to my lap so that I can work with one piece at a time. Put this baby back inside out like I need it to be. And I'm going to clip this one first because it has the glued edge and I don't want it to come undone any more than it already has. So I am going to find my center point. So you can see my glued edge is already coming off because I did the glue just to hold it in place until I stitched it. I didn't use a large amount of glue, and I was hoping what I used would be enough, but evidently not. So let's see where that line is. That edge. Jennifer is like a girl Friday, she has done so many different things. She has such a large skill set. And then if you like comics, she has an amazing collection of things. No, you cannot use bacon grease on my sewing machine. That is not, no, just no. We do not use bacon grease on the sewing machine. That's all I will say. There we go. Oh, you have to force it to do what you want it to do. You to be done. You're out of my way. You're done. You've had your sew time. You need to get out of my way, little piece. Clip you there. Sometimes I wonder if I should try to sew this on and then sew the end lines in. Might have to mock one up and see if that makes it, if I can find a different method of putting this together to make it easier for me. What I am going to do is clippy this little piece out of my way, though, I think. Because it's just taping it out of my way. You find things. You find what kind of things, Jennifer? Marvel? Resin. It is one made out of resin. Lisa, two leaves in a pod that comes in here. Sometimes she made these. She calls them our warrior rings. There's a group of us that wear them, which means if anyone comes in to attack one part of the group, the other parts of the group will jump in to support them. Because we don't play those games. I keep looking on the inside because I'm trying to make sure it looks good on the inside, which will be the outside eventually. And I may wind up having to hand stitch part of this. I have now completely lost the scissors I just had in my hand. They're independent of each other a little bit. Yep. Looks good. The other side's going to be just as difficult to work with. Let me see what my grandchild needs. Topher said, tell everybody, hey. I need to turn my heater down. I'm cooking my legs. Never understood the heat around here because some days it'll be 30 degrees and I can't have my heater on much because it cooks me. Other times it'll be 40 degrees and I have to have my heater on constantly because I'm constantly cold. I don't get it. The other hat is going to be a little bit easier because I'm not working with as many layers. This one is difficult because I'm dealing with this bulky piping that I volunteered to put in these. And me being me, I want it to terminate with points at the end. I'm trying to stop it from being offset any. I want it to be, you can see here how it comes to a point. And that's what I was looking for. The other one does too, but it looks more rounded because of the clip where I have the clips on it. So I shall set this aside for future sewing. This one will pull her up. Find our center point. And I hope this is more entertaining than watching paint dry. I'm excited. Yesterday, I finally made 100 subscriptions. Now to work on the next 100 and the next and the next until I make it to 500. 500 is a key number to get to because you can work on monetization after you reach 500. So I'm trying to get to 500 subs. I'm thinking eventually I will have the right hashtags and people will start coming to the channel and I'll get more views. No, this is the inside of the hat. The outside of the hat is white. So I am sewing. The sewing is on the inside of this hat. Yeah, this is going to be a white hat. So you can see here, the sewing doesn't show up on the outside edge. And again, as I've said before, it's a little more difficult for me because I'm working away from my body. Usually when I'm doing this kind of stuff, I keep it really close to my chest, closer to my body when I'm maneuvering it. And I use my body to help hold things. And right now I'm not doing that, so it makes it a little more awkward for me to work with. Come on up. I don't like cold at all. That's why I live in Georgia. I chose Georgia so I didn't have to deal with the cold. Now, see if this helps me. Pull that edge up a little bit. I do not want that sewed edge to get caught in the next seam. So I'm trying to force that edge up, that raw edge out, out, out. There we go. Edge out. Much better. I see your raw edge trying to creep down in there. There we go. Because of the nature of the curve of this, it wants to, this edge wants to fold in, and that's not okay. I'll fold this way, even though it's inverted of how it's going to be when I'm finished. Yes, Jeff and I are true Southerners when it comes to temperatures. We do not like the cold. Not by any stretch of the imagination. Actually, I'm going to grade these before I do anything. I'm going to cut this one back pretty close. And one of the reasons to do this is just to cut back on bulk. If I try to do it with all the seam the way it is, when I work with it, it's just going to create a bulky line right here. And I'm trying to get rid of that bulky line and give it more of a gradual change in the thickness of the leather, because it is 4 layers. It goes from being 1 layer to being 4, or 2 layers to being 4, so it doubles in thickness. And so I'm trying to grade this so it goes from being 2 layers to being 3 layers to being 4 layers, to being 5 layers to being 6, whatever. Because it's 2 and it goes to 6. It's the 2 on the outside plus the 4 from the seam. So when it hits this layer, it'll go from being 2 to being 3. Go ahead and cut that, take that tape off too, since we don't need it here anymore. And then this one will be cut just a little bit longer than that one. Thank you, Jennifer, but I think you might be a little biased. Of course, I always think my friends are biased. And this seam, when I get finished, will be hidden because it's between two layers of leather that's going to be folded over each other, so you won't even see any of this part. Is Terry still here? Did he run off? I mean, I know he's in the Netherlands, so it's wee hours of the morning for him. So the fact that he came in to say hi is much appreciated anyway. Of course, I know that Terry will also go into a channel to watch it and leave it on while he sleeps, which is really cool because we get the watch hours from that. Okay. Finally cut this one back. The longest one, I will leave it alone. You should be able to go to walmart.com and order Duke's mayo by the gallon. Well, you could order it not by the gallon, but you can order it off of walmart.com. I don't know if you're aware of that. And they should ship it straight to your doorstep. Because that is exactly how I would send it to you, is I would just go there and tell them to ship it straight to you. Still had some tape on there. I think Saturday when I go give blood, I'm going to go to the nail salon and tell them to do up my nails. I'm tired of them splitting and breaking. And I'm going to tie off these edges of these threads. Even though I did block the stitches, I have such a habit of tying my stitches that I'm still going to do that. Do a little surgeon's knot on them. Cut out the extras. I didn't leave my tails long enough on that side. And for those who missed it, my piping is made with this rainbow cord. It's the same as paracord, except it's thinner. And that is what I put inside of my lambskin leather to make my piping. This will be my finished edge. And the bottom edge of this will get cut on one side because basically I'm going to sew it to the hat, and then I'm going to cut this back, sew it to the hat, and then I'll take this and I'll fold this to the inside of the hat to finish off the edge. But this won't get sewn on until after I double check my measurements and make sure my measurements are very close to the measurement I need. And I don't have to restitch the back seam on the hat. This is where it starts getting bulky. I was trying to find my metal hammer. It's okay because I got my roller. Kind of make the leather do what I want it to do. I'm really pushing down that seam. You are showing in chat, and it is very quiet in chat today. It is very quiet here today. Not that many people are hanging out with us today, and that's okay. Hopefully people will watch the video later if they were not able to watch it today while I'm live. Hi, Britta. Good to see you. Working on the brim of the Garrison cap. This is the piece that will wrap around and cross in front of the Garrison cap. I sewed the piping in, and now I'm working to smooth out these edges and make them more crisp. I don't want to have to top stitch it. I'm trying to avoid stitching on the outside. I try to avoid any extra stitching on leather projects because it does perforate the leather, and every time you do that, it makes the leather more vulnerable. So I'm pushing these seams to force it to do what I want it to do. Trying to avoid having to also put glue inside to minimize how stiff this is. But this will wrap around the hat and it will crisscross in the front in such a manner. Actually, I'll probably put it that way. So it will crisscross in the front of the hat. It's part of the style of the hat. I will press, press, and press on this leather to get it as smooth as possible. That's going to look nice. Just trying to get as many of the crease marks type that show up in the leather out. Make it as smooth as possible. And then I can decide, this is going to be the outside. So we'll clippy doodle it. I use such technical terms, I know. It'll get clipped on the hat that way. We do the other piece. Set that there so it doesn't get messed up. So now it's time to grade these. A surgeon's knots are important. And they're secure. Well, this is going to be much easier. I'm just going to cut them all at the same time. And then I'm cutting 3 layers, and then I'll cut 2 layers. And then I'll cut the last layer to grade them a little bit. Last time I was fighting with them a little too much for my comfort. Might like this method better. go back and cut just 2 layers. That's going to be harder to do. I'm going to have to fight with that to separate those 2 layers. I think they get glued too far down on them. Those 2 might have to stay together. Jennifer, those surgeon knots are what keeps our bodies together after surgery. If they tried to do regular knots, we'd just fall apart. I actually use what they call a surgeon's knot when I tie my laces. I use it on the first part of it. It creates more tension in the knot and reduces slippage. I've actually shown it to a lot of people, and they don't know that it's called a surgeon's knot. The only reason why I know is because I had a nurse show it to me. And that's how I found out what it was. And then I did a little research and found out that that's the whole purpose of it. The way they do it is they loop that thread twice, or the thread. They loop it twice to cause it to have more tension, because more tension means less slippage of the knot. So stitches are less likely to come apart if they have a surgeon's knot. Oh, my hands are hurting me today. I've been trying not to do my prep work off camera, but when it came to getting these edges done, it was like nobody is going to sit there and watch me clip 4 different things as much as I had clipping on these to do. This side is the next side. Change this around and do that on the inside. Lord knows I cannot have a buckle in my leather on the outside edge. I know someone is trying to call me, but I can't answer the phone right now. Material, that leather buckled a couple of times on this edge. I'm definitely going to use this as the inside edge, so it's not going to show. The second one I was sewing where it kept misbehaving. That's what I feared it was trying to do. If if it were fabric, we would normally just rip it out and redo it. But because it perforates the leather, if we do that, we're more prone to creating a very weak spot in the leather that is subject to ripping. So I keep the good stuff on the outside. And move the mishaps to the inside where it won't be seen anyway. What I'm doing is I'm laying these with the outside edge facing out and clipping them, so when I go to put them on, I know which way they go. And this one is important because it does have this little spot here that folded a little bit, and so it will be in the back of the hat, but also on the inside edge. So the actual hat will be sitting here, and you won't be able to see that. If I put that on the outside, you would absolutely be able to see that. So now I'll put that one up here by the camera. And actually, I have all my edges clipped. So, yeah, clipped with these. Not clipped like with a scissor. Clean up a little bit. I think I'm going to wind up with a short stream tonight. I'm not sure. It's 7. Got a nice piece of piping here to work with. Have to figure out what to do with that. And I don't know if you were here or not, but I made the keychains that will accompany these hats. And I made this for the missus that will be wearing the hat. She wears white and blue. And I made this for the mister who wears black with blue. They are a married couple. And blue is their color and blue is their name. So I'm sending them matching keychains, matching in the sense that they're exactly the same design. The blue is exactly the same. And the difference is that I put the black leather on his and the white leather on hers, and I did the outside edges in the same color as that centerpiece leather. So those will be accompanying these 2 Garrison caps. Held together by caffeine, sweetness, sarcasm, pop culture, Wonder Woman rope. Yeah. Just a few things you're held together by. Just a few things. I might make another keychain. I'm thinking because I don't want to have to move the camera again right this minute to go to the machine because I did oil it. I was thinking it would take me longer, and I want the oil to work its way through and all the residual oil to come out before I put that leather under there. The last thing I want is an oily project. I want to be able to run the machine on paper towel or something before I put the leather under there. And so I need to have a little bit of time to do that, which I was planning on doing tomorrow. And I do not. Sorry, I'm just opening this piece of mail my grandchild dropped on me. It's the water bill. It went up a little bit. Could have gone up a little bit because in December we didn't have water for several weeks. Or the end of December and beginning of January, which was in the previous bill, we didn't have water for a few weeks. And then we did. Let me see what the dates are on this. What dates do these cover? And it gets auto paid anyway, so I don't even know why they keep sending me a bill when I told them not to. Yeah, these are the service dates for January 11th through February 12th. So this is when everybody was catching up on everything, because those that now know is that we wound up with no water in the house at all for 2 weeks and another week with no hot water. All because my hot water tank decided to quit working and spring a leak and gush water all over my garage. So as soon as the water came back on, the washing machine started getting run continuously. And people took nice, long, hot showers. I did as well. I don't blame anyone. We were without water for 2 weeks. You can only wash out of a bucket so long before it gets tiring, because we had a choice of taking cold baths or heating some water up and sponge bathing. And we did the best we could. Myself, my daughter, and the oldest grandchild was gone for a little while during the time we were without water, because the other two were here with COVID, so they couldn't go on a road trip. And so we winged it with that. Oh, that's a butterfly. That's not what I wanted. I was looking for my dragonfly wings, which I do not see here. I see my butterfly wings. I do not see my dragonfly wings. That's annoying. So that means the only thing I have here is turtle and the regular keychains. I don't know if that'll fit on there. Yeah, that's not going to. Not on here. Width-wise, it would, but because it's cut on the curve, I can't get a flat edge on that. And I don't know what became of my dragonfly pattern. I had it all clipped together because that's what I do is when I try to reuse the patterns. So let's see if it got knocked down. Because I do see my turtle pattern. And some people saw that I made the turtle for Sue. But I do not see that my other pattern is here. That is, nope, I do not have another one of them printed right here. So, okay, well, I'll make something up then. Because I can make a keychain. I can make just use that later. I want to make one with the center strap on the outside. Because I think that would be cool to have the belly of the snake right on it. I'm paying attention to the colors because I'm positioning it for coloring. And it does repeat. You can see, let me see, here, this green goes to here with this green, then it goes to black, then the purple, then this blue is here, then green, then purple, a little bit of black goes into the green, then the light blue teal color, you see the silver. So it's a repeat pattern that goes on. Yeah, the other one I made is made with the back. So I wanted to make one with the belly. And there's these two little pieces. These I am going to use that thicker part for because I want the thickness. Because these go on the inside and it's part of what gives it the 3D effect. That down a little bit so I know that I'm getting it on there. And the coloration of these will not matter because these pieces do not show. They're hidden on the inside. So they're kind of by luck. I just need to put them on here so that I know that I've got both layers really good. Put that in on itself a little bit just to get the stickies out of the way. That out of the way. And then I am going to reuse this piece. See what rubber I have laying around handy. That piece big enough. Is this piece big enough? Yes. Yay, scrap bin. You can guess who this keychain is going to be for. Can't imagine who wants this keychain. Piece of hair. This will absolutely fit on here. And I have used this piece before, but I'm just going to reuse it because I can. And I will do that a few times. I will reuse the patterns because they're still okay to use. And then I'll cut this a little more square. I made all these keychains for everybody and didn't make myself one. So I'm the queen of purple, so I am going to back these pieces. This one, I think I'm not going to back it. Or should I? Debating on that one. I might put a little black behind it, just to give it an extra layer. A little extra added strength. That's not it. That is it. There we go. It looks green on this side, but it is actually black. It's just the way the dye came out. So I will glue those together. Yes. I'm digging through my scrap bin right now, so let me push this off a little bit. It's got lots of the little hole pieces from other projects sticking to it. But here's a piece of black, which will not show up. I'm gonna wipe over it a little bit with a little cleaner. Because I also need this edge to stick together when I get ready to put it together. This will be on the inside of the biggest part of the keychain. So I want to work with something that's clean. I am wiping this down with hand sanitizer. This was kind of towards the bottom of the scrap bin, so it means it's been sitting a little while. I think this is leather that was from when I made Z's top hat. Hi, Tammy. Good to see you. So yeah, this leather has been sitting since I made Zoltan's top hat. All those years ago, or a year ago, 2 years ago. And so I will just swipe over this with a little, I actually use hand sanitizer for killing germs and stuff. And it still has some paper or tape residue in there, but it won't matter. I won't use that part, so. But yeah, this goes back a ways. I'll glue that to there. And this is why I don't just throw away stuff, the little leftover pieces. I've had someone ask me, what do you do with all that stuff? And I tell them it goes in my scrap bin. I have a scrap bin that I put all this stuff in. And the reason why I have a scrap bin to put this stuff in is because a lot of these scraps are great for making either miniatures or keychains. And that's exactly what I'm doing here. That container of glue that I was using last night, I put a little water in it to water it down. And it is still really watered down. See if I can work with that or if I need to thicken it up. I'm going to have to thicken that up just a little bit. I put water in my glue so it doesn't dry out overnight. because it is a water-based glue. So it doesn't hurt it. I actually use it watered down when I'm doing lightweight material that I don't want to stiffen up too much, because the glue does have a stiffening effect on things. Getting towards the end of that gallon of glue. And then I can get into using the next gallon of glue. Just got one in. This old knife, this is supposed to be for cutting and skiving, making leather thinner. And I use it for everything except that. And you're supposed to be able to start it and push it along the leather this way and cut it and make it thinner. I have not perfected skiving yet. It is something I need to work with. I have a method that I use that is not ideal, but it does the job. It just takes more time. Okay, that's thicker than what it was before. And this will indeed thicken up this whole thing. I mean, if I wouldn't even have to back it if I put enough layers of glue on it, but I don't want to trust just glue to give me the body that I want in the leather. Back side of this leather is so gorgeous. Awesome, Tammy. I know how my mom felt when she finally got approved and got hers. I come from a family of people with some heredity of issues with teeth. So I fight battles with mine constantly. All I can say is I'm closer to 60 than not, and I still have mine, which is very odd for my family. Ooh, I almost cut that too short. Yeah, I put too much glue on there. That's okay. I have absolutely no problem with scooping it up and moving it to the next piece. So many treatments that people get can cause so many other issues, um, such as dental issues. It's almost like, oh, you survived cancer treatment. Congratulations. Now you're going to have tooth issues. Um, that kind of goes. That doesn't surprise me. I've known people to lose all of their teeth from treatments. And I'm sure now that it's been said out loud, a whole bunch of people are going to say that's how they lost their teeth. Is that what you're going to do when you get old and decrepit and start losing your teeth, Jennifer? Is you're just going to get yourself some werewolf fangs when it's time for you to get teeth? Might freak people out a little bit if I smile and I look like I have fangs. Then again, it might make some people realize how dangerous I can be. See, now you have me all curious that I want to go talk to the dentist and see if I had to get false teeth, new teeth. They're not false; they're real. They're just not the kind that grow in your head. Um, they're real artificial. But anyway, I'll see if they would put me some longer canines on there. Excuse me, dentist. What would it take for you to increase the length of my canines when you manufacture my teeth? Jennifer, what is your pain level today? I can understand both of those. I shattered an eye tooth. Um, the dentist believed the damage was residual damage from when I was a teenager, early teens, and slammed my face into a brick wall and split my front tooth, one of my front teeth, in half. And he's pretty sure I damaged all the teeth across the front of my face. He said he could see hairline fractures in my x-rays. So he was not surprised when my tooth broke and just shattered above the gum line. Like, yay me. So eating anything that requires you to be able to bite with the front of your mouth became a no-go. So I absolutely sympathize with you having those kind of issues. Hi, Phil. Good to see you back. You got yourself all dried off from your great adventure of showering at the doctor's. Going to take your outdoor shower and go to the ENT at the same time. These pieces dry. Make myself a purple and rainbow keychain, because that's what I'm all about. Let's wipe off that extra glue. Even though these are disposable, I will reuse this one. I've been reusing it for the last couple of days. Close up my glue and stick it to the side. I have glue all over me. I'm worse than a kindergartner. I am guessing that Lisa is going to be on tonight. Let me double check her channel and make sure she has herself set up to go on tonight. She does not. I guess we'll see if she changes that. So I believe she has some stuff to sell. And we're keeping the prayers out for Kendra, who we know is not feeling well. So we will send the positive healing energy and prayers to her for speedy recovery on whatever it is that's ailing her. I keep stopping to look at the chat, get me something to drink. I'm drinking peach flavored carbonated water. I drink this in coffee most of the time. You wind up with 1 liter bottles all over the place. I'm trying to think of some cool projects I can make out of these. Maybe I can make some leather things to put and use this in the middle of it. I don't know. Phil, you're so funny. But I tell you what, that is exactly what my family did down in Mississippi when Katrina hit. And the city they were in, the main water line was busted. So they had no running water. So every time it rained, they knew that they had the stuff ready. Every time it rained, they ran out to the shed that was next door because the roof of the shed had gotten blown off, but the walls were still standing. So they would run out to the shed, strip down, and take a shower from the rain in the shed, and then run back in the house and dry off. And yeah, so they would just wrap up in their towel or bathrobe or whatever. But yeah, that's exactly what they did. Was you're joking about taking your yearly shower out in the rain, and that is exactly what they were doing after Katrina hit. They had a downpour, massive downpour, and my sister looked at her child and said, "Come on, child, let's go take a shower." It was a female child, so let's go take a shower. We're going out to the shed to take a shower, and then they got done, and then the males that were there went out and repeated the process because it was a nice long downpour. And they realized with the heat, as hot as it was down there, the cold rain wasn't as bad as one would think. So they counted on the rain. They counted on the rain as to come so that they could get their showers taken. And she said it was far better than just sitting nasty or using the good drinking water to wash your body with, because they had to go up to the FEMA stations and go through the lines to get cases of drinking water. I did that when I was there because I was adding to the number of people in the house. I actually had taken my mom back home. Plus, I was there. Plus, we had a couple of people that came to help. And so I went through the FEMA line, and they asked me how many people were in the home. And so I had to count up everybody that was there at that moment. And they gave me a few cases of water, a few bags. They asked me if I had a cooler or something to put ice in, and I did. And so they gave me some bags of ice to use. They gave me a couple cases of MREs, military food. So yeah, and that's what we used. I'm catching up on stuff. Catching up on reading. Phil, where at does your daughter live? Yeah, Tammy, the problem was is that nobody in two cities, the two cities that sit next to each other, neither one of them had water because the absolute main for that whole area um, was busted. And so, obviously that was one of the first things they worked on fixing. Um, Luckily, FEMA did bring out the military to give out supplies, but also my sister knew where the artesian well is. And it runs 24/7, 365. That artesian well is going. And knowing where it is a major, major plus. Um, the first few days after the hurricane, they were not drinking any water from the artesian well. But after a few days, at first they were boiling it, and they were boiling it and putting a little bit of bleach in it when they were boiling it to kill any bacteria that might be in there, and using it mainly for cooking it. They weren't so much drinking it because it didn't taste great, but they could absolutely use it for bathing, cleaning their bodies up, I should say. I want to use something so that I don't put holes in this table. I just redid the tabletop and I don't want to mess it up right now. This is not going through. I'm seeing the marks here, but I'm not seeing it cut here. Well, I guess it did. Not that time. Hey, Robbie. I hope you're doing well. I know Lisa's down there was down there or is down there getting her pretty today, or is on her way down there. Don't know which it is. And I told her to go ahead and bring my spirit down there because I would hate for it to break. I can see the holes. I would hate for it to break while I'm in transport because it's a cool piece. And now I'm going to have to look for another cool piece to go with it so that I can have my Adam and Eve piece. So now I need to find one that is shaped, with an opening like that and lots of druzy inside to go with it so that I can put them next to each other and call them Adam and Eve. Because I just think that would be cool. This glue is still a little wet, but I'm still going to push this through. I hit the camera. So, Robbie, did Lisa make it there? I've decided I don't like doing sewing machine projects on cam until I have my work table set up next to the sewing machine, where I can easily transition and have a second camera set up so I don't have to move everything. I might do a pop-up live on Saturday if I get back early enough, because I know Rosie goes on at 5:15. And I don't know that I'll be back early enough. Okay, so she did. Jennifer, if you like wildlife and like watching wildlife videos, you should check out Get Swamped. Robbie was on the Disney Channel on a show called Swamp Brothers. He was the one that was not afraid of everything. And he has a lot of videos now on YouTube because he runs an animal sanctuary in Florida. Ow. He runs an animal sanctuary in Florida, and he films life in that they're taking care of the animals. Sometimes it's feeding alligators and crocodiles. Other times it's cleaning the snake pens, or it may be raking up the lemur cages or feeding the lemurs, or just doing work on the property to prep for the upcoming stuff. Tammy, if you see my email address, if you drop me an email, I will send you the link to this one. It adjusts for multiple sizes of camera or phones that you can use as a camera. I use my phone as a camera, and I can, if you're using a Windows computer, I can tell you exactly what I have set up to be able to use my phone as a camera. But yeah, Jennifer, as I was saying, Robbie does all those videos of life on his place with all the animals. And he has a lot of them where he does educational type videos with the animals. He did some for a company, and they were called Wildlife Wednesdays. He doesn't do them as Wildlife Wednesdays like he used to, but he still does educational videos. He'll pick an animal and teach you about it. So if you like wildlife, you should go check out Robbie's stuff. Just a crazy group of people that do that. And eventually you'll find a video with me in it. I should make up a few of these keychains for Robbie to sell or give away. I'll send him some to put in his giveaway. He does auctions, sales on not really an auction, it's a buy it now, so it's claim it now type thing. So it's more like a sales, and he sells a lot of crystals. So your amethyst and stuff like smoky quartz, clear quartz, some of the less common stuff that is more expensive, he sells them. He comes on at 7 o'clock and does a chit chat first, gives people some updated info, goes through his mail, answers questions that have been pulled from the videos where people have asked questions, video comments. Doing it like this, you can really see how much of these residual pieces just fall out. Missed a hole. Bloody yo. Yes, Flutter. I'm gonna have to bottle them up. Oh, I have some little bitty bottles. And we'll put some in the bottles and sell it. Yep. $1 a bottle for leatherback shits. I could start sending it with people, collect the ones from each project, stick them in a bottle and send them to the person for their project. This is all the pieces of leather that came out of making your item. And I need to quit hitting my camera. When I rearrange, I'll change the setup a little bit so that I can have the camera stand in a better position. I have an idea in my head of how to do that. Which is basically put a shelf on this table that it doesn't have, so that I can have a place in front of me to clamp the light, because and also be able to move it closer to me, because when I was trying the other day to clamp the light, it actually puts it too far over so that the edge of it is only to here, so you can't even see any of this workspace. That's if I clamp it on the back of the table. But if I put a shelf on there, then the shelf would move it towards me some. It would also give me a place to put my second monitor that I have propped up on a cardboard box right now. Oh, I'm finished with my holes. I just realized, oh, I did all the holes for this one. And these thin pins. And clean out my hole punches. And I do that because I am working with leather that has glue on it. I do not want glue drying in these holes, in these hole punches, because then it'll take forever. I would have to soak it in a solution to soften the glue to get it out, and then it would take hours to actually get it out. I don't want to have to go through that, so clean it up as I go. And you can see the little pieces of leather and paper and tape that all came out from just making holes for that piece. And I still got holes in there. Making sure that I'm not popping out my private information on here. Because unless I think you need to know, you don't need to know where I live. Oh, I did not finish the holes. I'll just do these on here since I already know it's still tearing this up. I only did one side. My cell phone, to the best of my knowledge, was not down today, but I know a lot were. There were cell phone outages all over the place. A lot of companies had problems with cell phones today. I think my company was one of the few that did not have issues. I know AT&T had tremendous issues. And that's where having a Google phone number would work. Because like with me, I connect my phone to my home internet when I'm home, which is funny because I have unlimited internet on my phone. But because I connect it to my home internet, if my phone itself went out where I couldn't make calls, I could use a Google number to make calls because I would be using my home internet. So anyone that has a home internet would be able to do that. The only problem with Google numbers is if you don't use them, they will turn them off. But if you're only using it for emergencies, then you don't care if you have to change your number every year. Or you just make it a habit of making sure you're using it so that that doesn't happen. Yeah, I know that AT&T absolutely had an outage. I got notifications on that. There was actually, I got one thing. It was like, don't worry about your family and friends if they have AT&T and you're unable to get in touch with them. Don't stress over it. They're probably okay. Our stuff is out. So. A nice long piece of lots and lots of leather crap. I mean, that is what came out from just doing the holes on one side. The the outside, and the next one, the middle, all of this came from just those two rows. Lots of little leather pieces. And so I'll clean this up tonight. I'll do the tape again. I put tape on this table so many times. Yeah, if you're using your phone as a hotspot, it does become useless. If your phone is your internet that you use. And that would suck. Absolutely would suck to have no internet. I have to have regular internet in the house because of my job. I'm not allowed to use a hotspot, even though I have 5G internet on my phone. even in my car I do. That's the other thing is my, well, it's not here, so it wouldn't have helped me any, but my Tahoe, through my OnStar package, I have internet. But of course, that may run through one of the cell phone companies, and so that may have gone out too. So yeah, it's a nice thickness, nice 2 layers of thickness, and I think I might leave that because I think I like that black and purple edge showing, because that'll be folded over on itself, and so it would be a big thick piece of black with that purple on the outside edges. I think I like that for the outside edge. Might leave that. Yeah, the leather I went to my scrap bin and I found a piece of purple leather that is leather that I have a lot of stuff made out of for myself. So I thought I'd make myself a keychain. And the black happens to be the leather that I made Z's top hat with. It was some of the scrap. I made his top hat and his goggles from that black leather. I think I need to sharpen this up a little bit. I am off the edge over here. I'm sharpening my knife. I noticed I was starting to put pressure on it to cut, and I shouldn't have to put much pressure to it for it to cut. That's that piece. Knock some of this paper out of here. Yeah, I was sitting here thinking I've made all these keychains that have everybody bought, and not one keychain for me. I didn't make myself a keychain. And it's like, that's crazy. And I have lots of butterflies and dragonflies, and I have a dragon head. I haven't started showing you guys those keychains yet. But I have dragon head keychains. I need to see if I have human skull keychains that I can find a pattern for them to make them about the same size as these little skulls that Lisa makes. Lisa does amazing work with Two Leaves in a Pod, does amazing work with resin, and that's who made this ring. Yeah. And she makes skulls and clocks and trinket boxes and all kinds of stuff. And she comes on tonight. Usually on Thursday, it's 9:30, around 9:30, could be a little bit earlier. Could be a little bit later. Don't know what she's doing tonight, what time she's going on, but I will log off of here by 9 o'clock at the latest. And I do that out of respect because Two Leaves in a Pod, Lisa and Kendra have had their spot of going live on Thursdays for quite some time. And I kind of like them and I hang out there. So I want to make sure that I log off because a lot of the same people that the people that are coming here are a lot of the people that some of the people that go there as well. And so I want to make sure that everybody has time to go take a break, stretch their legs, go to use the facilities, get a snack, get a drink, all the things that we do before we go and watch another live. And tonight is Thursday, so therefore it is sales night for Two Leaves in a Pod. And Lisa sells resin and crystals. And Kendra sells mainly crystals, but some other stuff as well. And so if they're on tonight, which they usually are, I know that Lisa had some new stuff to show, if I'm not mistaken. And so we pop in there, see what she has. And for resin items, because she can do them in so many different colors, if she doesn't have one in stock or on hand in the color you want, she will absolutely make it in the color you want. I have a few things that she's made, and I have a few things on the way. She actually has a mold for a snake, and Robbie at Get Swamped gives her the snake sheds from his snakes, and she uses that to put real snake skin in her resin snakes. And so this keychain is going to be purple with that. I like it. And then obviously this is the part that goes up, loops up, so this side will be over here. I like it. So, yeah. So we will be over at Lisa and Kendra's tonight. I know Flutter will be. Flutter is one of the important mods. I think one of the most important mods because Flutter helps them with their auction or their sales. So Flutter pays close attention to the chat. So when, like Lisa is showing stuff, if someone claims it, Flutter makes sure that Lisa knows that. And she keeps track of who bought what to help Lisa. course, she does the same thing on Get Swamped on Friday night. Several of us go to multiple channels. Rosie's Random Treasure is on 3 days a week. Yeah, Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday. Like I said, these don't matter because they're going to disappear anyway. Line these holes up. This will get stitched in here, and then this gets stitched over it, and it'll give it a 3D effect. So as cute as that piece is with that beautiful purple on there, it's going to be hidden. I'm okay with that. I'm going to end up with a cool keychain. The actual top layer, which is the smaller of those pieces, can actually be a single layer. The only caution is that this center piece is where the ring goes for the keychain. So you want to make sure that that's secure enough that the leather's not going to easily split if you put anything with any weight on it. And that is why I went ahead and backed it. And this one, I may do it a little bit different, that instead of putting the ring on it, I may put a clip on it instead so that I can clip it to other things instead of having a ring on it to connect with. Because that way it would make it easier for me to move it from one thing to the other. And this is how I keep my patterns together. I just put these little clips on them. And then usually I take one of these T-pins and I stick it through here. And then I stick this in one of my heads that I use for sizing hats. I have one over here that I don't use that often for hats itself. I think it's my head. It's the one that matches my head. And so or that might be the fat head that I got for when I made Robbie and Z's hats. And I mean that in the nicest way, but I've not made a hat bigger than Robbie and Z. Oh, I've made 2 hats that were bigger than Robbie and Z's head. So I'll hush on that one. So I'm going to stitch these together. And I'll just have to rest happy in knowing how pretty that stuff is underneath there when I stitch this on and cover it all up. Yep. I'm going to use black. Yeah, I went and looked earlier, Flutter, and didn't say what time she was planning going on. And actually, I have this white thread. So I think I'm just going to use this white thread under here because this stitching will not be seen. So I'm just going to stuff it in here. I was going to look and see who's calling, but I realized if I do that, I'm going to move in order to do that, I have to move my camera. Because I do not have my regular phone link set up right now. I need to get a very long cable that is USB-C on both ends, so that when I move I can have it connected directly to my computer. And then when I move from one location to the other, I don't have to worry about it pulling the cord, because I have if I have it like that, I can use my phone link, which means I can see my texts and everything on my computer. I can see everything about my phone on my computer. I can, answer text and everything while I'm doing this stuff without having to look at my phone. Let's fold that over. That'll hold that until it finishes getting stitched in. When the other piece is stitched over it, this is not going anywhere. And the back side will even be hidden because it's going to be folded into itself. This is just to hold this piece so it doesn't move and can't move. It could have been just glued in instead of stitched in. And I leave the threads a little long on this because I want it to create a big bubble. Then I can press down, and so it's a big blob there that cannot get pulled through. Basically creating almost like a button that you can see it on that one. Right there. It can't get pulled through to the other side. But when this is folded in half and stitched together, you can't see that. And when this is stitched over this, you can't see that. So that makes it okay. Needle 1. Needle 2 still had a lot of thread on it when I sewed the white one together. I will keep that piece. If I'm not mistaken, Lisa has heard from Kendra, and she will fill us in when she goes live. I had a conversation with Lisa earlier, so yeah. Getting that extra wax out of the thread. I think I've shown you how I do that before with using my nail to just pull the thread through it. Because this thread has so much wax on it. And then I wind up with this little piece of wax left over. I do not keep that wax. Don't know that that wax is good for anything. I don't know what the wax is made of. I might have to get me the colored duct tape and start using it on the table. Buy the cheap store brand, like at the dollar store or something, and start covering it. And that way I can do different colors each time. This is painter's tape. I was going to use it like I used the white tape when I put my patterns down, and I found that it was just too hard for me to see through it. to start here. Earlier I was talking about anchoring that stitch and repeating that first stitch, and that's what I just did here. I do it to the first and the last stitch. Just makes it more secure and keeps the look balanced. I will keep my thread pulled kind of snug on this because I want to force the leather to bend around this other piece to give it that 3D effect. And so what I'm doing is when I push the thread through, I'm pulling it snug and I'm pushing it down, and then I'm putting my finger on it to hold it in place so that I can push that other needle up and not catch my thread, but also just hold that stitch in place. And then when I go to the next one, do repeat the process. You can still see I have a lot of that extra wax on here. And then when I get done, I will brush this and basically buff that wax out of there and come back to some clean black stitching. I mean, the wax has its purpose. Residual wax will go down into the holes. I mean, I don't need this to be watertight or anything, so it doesn't matter that much, but it also makes it where you can't see into the holes as easy. Kind of fills the gaps in there, which is kind of cool. Okay, Jennifer, I will catch up with you later. Good recoveries to you. Jennifer is one of the people that I actually do know in real time. We have shared many meals together, many laughs, many tears. We have loved the same people as family. We have lost the same people. So we go back a few years. Actually, I've known Jennifer almost as long as I've known my husband. Almost, not quite. So when I said that I was doing this YouTube thing, Jennifer was one of the first people to jump up and say, I'll show support. I'll be there. And she has been. Yeah, one of my grandchildren told me I was rude yesterday because I said if you lived in my house and are not subscribed to my channel, then you need to quit using my internet. And then I was informed that was a rude way of saying that they should be subscribed to my channel. I'm like, okay, whatever. But it is how I feel. If I'm the one paying the bill and I'm streaming, you should be supporting. And now this is where that tight thread really matters, is pulling this side down. But having it snug all the way around is what makes it work better, because if it's not snug all the way around, through time, the stitches will adjust tension and it won't have that snug look where it has that 3D effect. I don't know how well you can see the lift on that. looks cool. I actually love this this rainbow leather, and I might have to keep an eye out to see if I can find any more to keep on hand, because the only problem is that it's expensive as all get out. And I'm gonna have to see if I can find someone's sale somewhere, like the clearance sale, basically the clearance bin of leather. Because this stuff is not cheap to find. I like it because you can pair it with anything and it looks good. You know, you can put it with blue or black or green or orange or purple, and it just looks good. Even to have it to use as an accent piece is amazing. Okay, what did not pull right? And I might wind up sewing the last part of it when I'm on Lisa's, watching Lisa's Two Leaves in a Pod. Because I am adamant about getting off here at 9 o'clock, not 9:15. Yeah, I could see doing a purse with a butterfly motif on the front of it with this leather. Oh, I might have to get the dragon head keychain out and see if I can lay the pieces out right to make a really cool dragon's head and make a couple of them. But when I get these hats finished, I need to look in my bin where I put the high dollar scraps and see of how much I have of the green from Scott's hat. I don't know how much green ostrich I had left, but I'm gonna have to dig in that bin after I finish these two hats before I move on to getting the shoe purse done. I started to call it the foot purse. It's not a foot purse, shoe purse. And I cut this thread as long to go around the whole thing instead of only half of it. That's okay. I've got this. I'll switch the leather. I'll run it from one side to the other underneath because it'll be secured anyway. I should have measured it to only go here, but I didn't. But I'll still secure this stitch here. And then I will run this up here. this hide hangs on to that paper so much. And I think it's the residual hair that's on here. And it just clings to those little paper pieces. And that goes to the first hole, which is that hole. Absolutely, Flutter. If I find some hides of this leather, we will work out getting you a rainbow butterfly purse. I promise. We will figure it out. And I just threw my 1/2-inch ruler in the floor. Which I will pick up because the last thing I need to do is break these wonderful rulers that I just bought. I'm not worried about this having a little tension on it because it's going to be folded in half anyway. Well, you know I do barter with people, so I'm sure we can work something out. A lot of people thought I was joking about bartering. Now I've got 2 people that are getting commissions from me for buying me pretty rocks. Joyce of, Joyce and Barry. Joyce and Barry they bought me one rock that I wanted, but they also gave Robbie $150 for me to spend on whatever I wanted. And I did. And then MZ bought me 2 nice pieces from Lisa that I wanted. So yeah, I absolutely barter. I want to know I want to know for a fact, beyond a reasonable doubt, that I know what I'm getting. So I'm not just going to I had someone say, "Well, I can send you stuff from my collection," and it's like, I don't know where you got your stuff. I'm not going to barter Amazon or Temu stones for leatherwork. If you want to use Amazon bought or Temu bought stones and call them your stones and crystals, that's fine. I'm not. I've seen the quality that comes from there. It's crap. Some of it is absolutely fake. I've seen some that someone got and they're handling it and their hands are turning colors because of the dye that's on these stones, on these rocks, that they're supposed to be authentic, but and the stone, it was not a dyed agate or something like that, because even the dyed agates I have don't stain my hands. So even the ones I know that are dyed are not staining my hands. And this was a stone that was not supposed to be a dyed stone. And the person's hands were turning colors. And it's like, yeah, that means that is a heavily dyed stone. No, not what you think it is. Oops, I missed that. Missed the second hole. So I'm really cautious about taking them from someone's collection. Flutter, you on the other hand, I know where you're getting rocks. You getting them right there, right at home. So that is a little bit different. It'd be kind of like me going to the mines up here and getting amethyst and trading amethyst. You can show pictures of you collecting the stuff. You can videotape yourself doing it. And here we are out in the middle of in the dark, looking for shiny rocks. You call them Uperlights. Hey, y'all, watch this. Shine the black light, watch them glow. Yeah. And those beaches down there have amazing, or up there, I should say, it's up there for me. Your beaches have amazing rocks on them. I wish I had beaches like that. But I've not heard of any Georgia beaches having beautiful rocks like that on them. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that if you find more Upers, you're going to sell them. There were people who were not thrilled to find out that you had some and they didn't get a chance to get any. Let me get the kids to help me with them. Try to balance it and see if I can give each one of them one for their little collections that they've started up. I've got to go to my friend's house because he sent me some pictures of rocks that are in his yard, and they look like rose quartz, smoky quartz, amethyst. He doesn't live that far from me. And I was going to go over there, and then he got sick, and then he had to have surgery. So I need to find out if he's all cool and everything, and have to go over there and get an idea on what he has in his yard. He says every time it rains, more rocks are being exposed, and they're beautiful. And he showed me some of them, and I'm like, yeah, that's smoky quartz. I want some of your yard, And so, yeah, I think it would be cool for him to be able to sell some of them. I was thinking about setting it up where Lisa could buy some from him, as long as we can confirm what they are. Now that I've got both of those done. Little surgeon's not here. Oh, my shoulder just popped a little. That's scary. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to beat on this just a little bit. And I did it again. I put this together and forgot to put my ring on it. So I am absolutely going to have to use a regular ring, because there's no way for me to put the other clip on there that I was planning on using. because I'm smart like that. I would have to unstitch at least one half of that to fix the problem. If it was for someone else and I didn't put what they wanted on there, I would unstitch it and redo it. But there, I managed it. I will manage that one. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue these together. Getting some of this stuff out of these holes before I start having to stitch it together. I will glue it, use the clippy things that Marcia gave me, which is in this tin. I've used these before on these keychains, and they work beautifully. This part, slather some glue on here. This will also secure the threading a little bit. Kind of go out towards the edge just a little bit. It's going to squish some as I smush it down. I use such technical terms. We're going to smush it. And it will push the glue out towards the edges. Take some of that extra glue, smack it to the other side, because I don't want it to squish it into the holes. Use my little makeup spatula. I mean, I could have bought the real expensive glue thingy jigger, but you know. For the price I paid for these and how many I got and how long they last, it was cheaper for me to go this route. It would take forever for me to make that, pay what I paid. I would have paid for that other thing, and I would have lost that other thing anyway. So we start in a line up. Take this hole, line it with that hole. Put this on here and make it fall off. No, it's just a water-based tack glue. Well, is this one of the short ones? Let's see if I can just make this behave. That was a short one. So yeah, it's the Eileen's tacky glue. I could buy the leather glue for that, but and I also have another glue. It's a yep, what do you call that stuff? Barge, it's like a barge cement. It's a heavier duty glue, much heavier duty, but it gives off some toxic smelling fumes. And you should really have really good ventilation when you use it. So anything that's going to be stitched, I don't use the barge cement. I just used regular glue to help hold things in place. A lot of that, that kind of thing. If it's something that's not going to be glued, not going to be stitched after it's glued, then I will use the barge cement to ensure that it stays together. Because the barge cement, if I glued these together with barge cement, you're not going to pull it apart without ripping the leather. And I do mean ripping the layers of leather apart. This is the same way I did the white one. And I found that it came out really good. I need to get a few more sets of these so that I have more of the long ones. I didn't realize they came in 2 different sizes in the set. Yeah, I love them for keeping things in line. So you can see it pushes it down. Let me see, that's 2, 4, 6, 7. I have some more long ones. I have at least 2 more long ones that I can use on the back edge. And see the difference. You can see the difference in the length is significant for what it is. And so for the big projects like this, the thick stuff, I have to use the longer ones. Yeah, even if I'm not gluing a project, just keeping the stitches lined up, the stitching holes lined up, helps. Usually I hand stitch a piece together to align the stitch holes. It kind of like when you do regular sewing, you baste things together. And that is what I normally do, is I'll baste around it with scrap thread. And it's annoying having to do that. But, it is what it is kind of thing. And so this will help me keep these edges together so that I can, and aligned, so I can clean this up a little bit. So I can finish off these edges together. Oh, it is 9:01, so it is time for me to look. So you can see how when I get it finished, it's going to have that black in the middle of these 2 purple lines. And I think that's just going to be cool. So I'm going to clean up these edges a little bit. I showed doing that some. I'm going to cut it where they're level. And then I'll use my little Dremel tool on it to smooth it out really good. And then I'll use some stuff called Tokonol on it. This one's running out. I've got more, but I'll put some Tokonol on it. And I'll use this to go over it back and forth like this. And it, first of all, because of this curve, it will push this together as I'm doing it. And it will also start bringing up a bit of a shine with the Tokonol. So it finishes those edges. So I'm actually going to finish this while I'm watching Lisa on her live. And so when I'm back online, I will show it. I will not be on Friday because that is Get Swamps night at 7 o'clock. And Saturday, I'm not sure because I'm giving blood on Saturday. And Rosie does come on at 5:15. So if I get home early enough from giving blood, I'll go live, but I'm not planning on it. But Sunday, I am going live. I'm going live at 2 o'clock on Sunday, and I will be on until I'm not. I will definitely be off before Rosie's live. That is on Sunday at 7:15. And so tonight we are going to see two Lees in a pod. And I will pop their information in here. Again, if you like buying crystals, they sell crystals. And also on Tuesdays, you might wind up with some trivia that's based on rock and roll music, with Robbie and Lisa both working in the music industry. So that's where we're going tonight. They should be on around 9:30ish, 10 o'clock. One of our wonderful supporters that's in here all the time and has been chatting with me is Flutter You, who has some places in her area where you can find some amazing rocks. We were talking about the Uperlites. You can get Uperlites there. They have agates. You go to the beach and they have agates on the beach. I mean, I grew up where you had sand beaches. Who would have known you could get agate beaches? And so we go and we support Flutter. Flutter does fishing videos. Sometimes goes live with those. This winter did some ice fishing out on the lakes. Go catch those videos and give them all a thumbs up. And I hope you all have a wonderful evening. And I do hope to see you over at Two Lees in a Pod or one of the other channels I frequent. I will talk to you later. And Sunday, definitely, we will continue with the Garrison caps. Bye for now.